Hello everyone, and welcome to World War II at 80. I'm Ron May, your host, author, historian, and speaker on World War II history and the stories of those who served. We continue with our fifth episode today, which focuses on the events and stories of May 1944. The month of May 1944 was dominated by final preparations for the upcoming amphibious invasion of northern France, scheduled for June 5th. Squadrons of light Allied bombers dropped bomb loads over coastal and inland areas of Normandy on May 6th, 1 month before D-Day. The targets included German naval forces located in French ports, inland concentration of troops, and airfields used by the German Luftwaffe. Roads and railroad tracks, as well as communication nodes, were also bombed to slow German forces held in reserve from being able to reach the beaches quickly after the Allied landings on D-Day. On May 15th, over 130 political and military leaders met at St. Paul's School in Hammersmith, England, in the London area, for a top-secret joint briefing about D-Day given to senior officers. Attendees included General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Lieutenant General George S. Patton, General Bernard L. Montgomery, as well as British political leaders King George VI and Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Secret talks of a future Allied invasion had begun between President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill in late December 1941. In 1942, early operational planning had begun. Then on December 24, 1943, President Roosevelt selected General Dwight D. Eisenhower as the Supreme Allied Commander for Europe. He was responsible for overseeing the complex coordination of planning for D-Day between U.S. and British as well as French forces, making sure the plan was executed. Frenetic final planning filled the first 5 months of 1944. By May, Operation Overlord was about ready, and June 5th was selected as the date for D-Day. Meanwhile, 1,100 miles to the south and west of London, the battle for Monte Cassino in southern Italy finally ended on May 18th in an Allied victory. More success came a week later when Allied forces were finally able to break away from the city of Anzio, where they had been stuck since landing there over 3 months earlier in January. Linking up with other U.S. forces from the south, the combined forces making up the Fifth Army set their sights on Rome, just under 40 miles to the north. One of the men in the U.S. Army forces moving toward Rome in late May was PFC Ellis Earl Chowning of Mooresville, Indiana. Born June 27, 1925, Chowning graduated from Mooresville High School and then joined the Army in September of 1943. Following his basic training at Camp Gruber in Oklahoma, he returned home and married his high school sweetheart, Maxine. He then boarded a ship in early 1944 and arrived in Italy on April 18th. He was assigned to the 85th Infantry Division. For most of April, the division was kept busy holding defensive positions while facing the heavily entrenched Germans on the Gustav Line. The division went on the attack on May 11th and successfully took several towns and villages along the southern part of the line. Their work was instrumental in helping to open the Anzio beachhead. For the remainder of the month, the division did mop-up operations on the small peninsula jutting out from the port city of Gaeta, noted with the yellow arrow on the map. The May 31st issue of The Reporter shared with readers that PFC Chowning sent a cablegram from Italy to his parents and wife sometime in May, stating that he was doing well. Unbeknownst to the family and friends, at the time they received the encouraging cablegram, Chowning had already been dead for 6 days. According to Army correspondence, Chowning died in action on May 25th. He had been on Italian soil for less than 5 weeks. His wife and parents weren't notified of his death until July 1st, when a message informed them that the husband, son, had died somewhere in Italy. That somewhere was likely the coastal city of Gaeta, Italy. It was a somber reminder that even after a village or city had been taken by Allied forces, danger still loomed with remaining pockets of enemy resistance. Joy came alongside of grief on October 25th, exactly 5 months after Ellis's death, when his daughter, Earl Dean Marie Chowning Jr., was born. In late November 1948, 3 years after the end of World War II, PFC Ellis Earl Chowning's remains returned home to Mooresville from Italy. Temporarily buried in Italy, he was, after over 3 years, finally home. He was laid to rest at the Mooresville Cemetery. His name, along with 23 other Mooresville veterans who died in World War II, is preserved at the Mooresville Veterans Memorial at Monroe Street and Memorial Drive. The memorial was built in 1948, the same year that Chowning's remains arrived back in Mooresville, to honor the men who were killed during World Wars I and II. The memorial replaced the former community service role that had fallen into disrepair. The memorial was rededicated in 1976 and included the names of those who served and died in the Korean and Vietnam Wars. The most recent expansion, in 2008, added the names of those who have died in the more recent War on Terrorism. Meanwhile, in the other major theater of conflict, the Pacific, the month of May also saw success in the war against Japan. The Japanese attack on Imphal, India, which had begun in March, ended in failure on May 31st, as Allied forces defeated the Japanese aggressors, who then retreated back into Burma, having suffered heavy losses. Japan would not threaten India again. Learn more about World War II history during 1944 and the stories of those who served in my World War II trilogy, Our Service, Our Stories, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. The books are available for purchase on my website, ronaldpmay.com. To contact me for questions or to schedule me for a speaking engagement, email me at ron@ronaldpmay.com. Also, be sure to check out all my other videos on my YouTube channel at World War II History and Stories with Ron May. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. See you next month for our Episode 6, featuring the events and stories of June 1944 with World War II at 80.